Let's take a look at the Camera Calibration pane over here in the right panel in the Develop module. Let me open that up. And let's keep in mind something here when we're working on this pane, and that's that when you work on a raw file, Lightroom applies a formula that assembles the raw data into a recognizable image. This formula is not set in stone, and via the Camera Calibration pane, you can select a camera profile or create a custom formula of your own via these sliders down here. So we've talked about what the different processes that are available in Lightroom 3. And you can see here I've selected 2010. That's the current process. That's the most up-to-date method of assembling the raw data. 2003 is the older method. And if that's selected, you'll also have this explanation point down here in the lower right-hand corner. If I click on that, it's going to automatically update it here. And you can see now the new process is now selected. So under Profile, if I select that, you're going to see a lot of different profiles that are available. And what you see here in your version of Lightroom, depending on what camera you're using, will be different than what I have. And the most recent profile is the Adobe Standard. These are previous profiles that were available. This will be the default setting, and these will also show up, but these settings that you see here will depend on the camera model. And I'm going to show you the difference here. Like, for example, Camera Vivid. When I select that, you can see right away, not only is there a difference in the image in the preview window, but the histogram changed. I'm going to select Camera Standard, Camera Portrait, and each one of these is just applying a different profile to the raw conversion. Now, these profiles are based on the Nikon look and what's available in the Nikon camera models. So what shows up here will really depend on your camera. Now also keep in mind, if you're using anything other than a raw file, you won't get these choices. If you have a JPEG or a TIFF, for example, you just don't get profile options because you're not processing the raw file. So what are these sliders here below? These are called legacy sliders. These were in the first version of Lightroom. In fact, they came over from Adobe Camera Raw. And in the old days, we actually used these to create camera profiles on our own. And it wasn't easy. You really have to kind of eyeball it and move the sliders to remove tints or add tints or enhance colors. And it was kind of a tedious process. And then Adobe came out with the DNG Profile Editor, which is a separate application. You can download it free from the Adobe Labs site. And it pretty much automated a lot of this that we were going through manually. So if you want to create your own camera profiles, I suggest that you use the DNG Profile Editor and do that rather than this kind of painstaking method of using these sliders. Now, these sliders still can be used for creative purposes, and some people use it for conversion into grayscale as well. So they do have a purpose, and certainly as a creative tool, I would encourage you to try them out. So the key things here are playing around with different profiles if you're using a raw file. This is a little bit awkward to go through one by one. I've created presets over here in the left panel, Camera Profiles. These are just simply made by selecting one of the profiles here and making a preset based on it. Now I'm going to hold my cursor over Camera Vivid, and you can see up in the upper left-hand corner in the navigator, Camera Vivid is previewed there, and there's Camera Standard, Camera Portrait, Camera Neutral, Landscape, and the Adobe Standard. I can just click on the preset, and that setting will be applied to the preview window as well. If you want one of these profiles to come up automatically or be applied automatically as your default setting, you can also do that by selecting Develop, Set Default Settings. And now if I select Update to Current Settings, that will become my default profile. And again, if you found, if you have a profile that you want to use all the time in all your images, and you just want that to be the default, you just go ahead and update it to current settings by clicking there. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to hit Cancel. Okay, so that's the Camera Calibration pane, and I encourage you to certainly play around with the different profile settings And without even touching any of your basic pane settings, without any change to your tonal values, you'll see you come up with a completely different look. And encourage you to play around with this and see what works for you.